My name is Dennis Huston. I teach English here, and I've been here since 1969. That's a hard question to answer because I feel like it depends on my mood. But my favorite play is probably Midsummer Night's Dream because it's finally so brilliantly executed, working three plots together, talking about writing plays. It's the most obvious example of Shakespeare's doing plays where he, in fact, writes a play about writing a play, so that it's what we call metadrama. That's an interesting question, too. I think my least favorite play, in some ways, is Titus Andronicus. It's just gruesome, and it doesn't move me at all. But there's a brilliant movie by Julie Taymor about it, and I love the movie, and I in fact actually once taught it in Shakespeare on Film, but I hate the play enough so that I don't teach it anymore, in spite of the fact that it's a good movie. If I taught 2 semesters of that course, I'm sure I would teach it. I have a very strange relationship to Julius Caesar because I liked Caesar a lot before I came to Rice, and I saw a great production of it in Stratford, Canada. But when I came to Rice and was teaching Shakespeare for 2 semesters and taught about 20 of the plays, I taught Caesar the first year I was here, and the students were just, bleh, bleh. And I said, and ordinarily when they're like that, you can sort of charge them up and make them see that the previous experience of the play is an experience that's different from the one you're going to show them. But I had no success in getting them interested in Caesar, and so I thought, well, I teach a lot of Shakespeare's plays. I don't want to teach this play anymore. I don't want to teach a play that students don't get interested in. So I've never taught it, and I haven't read it since 1969. So maybe it's now in a category of least favorite plays in spite of the fact that I liked it till I got here. When I read Merchant of Venice, which is a play my daughter, who teaches Shakespeare on Film at Kincaid, loves, and which I'm not very fond of because I don't like any of the people in it, I think Bassanio is misunderstood because I think a lot of people think of him as the hero who succeeds in winning Portia and marrying the beautiful and smart and very rich woman, infinite wealth, apparently. She just says pay the debt, 30 times if you need to pay the debt 30 times to get Antonio out of this problem. And I think Bassanio is finally tremendously self-centered and is not really in love with either Antonio, who obviously is very fond of him, whether the fondness goes to a gay relationship the way it's done recently in movies, most particularly in the movie that was made with Al Pacino playing Shylock, or in love with Portia. And I think he's mostly in love with Portia's money, at least some of the times when I read the play. I think the Pacino movie, gives us a Bassanio who's more interesting than that because there's at least part of him that's in love with Portia. But I think that of all the characters that you might think of as heroes in Shakespearean comedy, I think Bassanio is the worst in terms of his moral concerns and commitments. He's a person who has lived a life where he has spent all the money he inherited and then has borrowed money from all sorts of people and never paid it back. And then decides he has a great plan to go marry this very rich woman, and he borrows more money from Antonio to appear well-heeled when he shows up. I think my favorite couple is Beatrice and Benedict. The reason for that is partly that I like the comedy so a lot, and that that Beatrice is in some ways the most interesting of all Shakespeare's heroines in comedies. She's incredibly witty. She's really smart, and as Benedict says, she speaks poignards and every word stabs. When she goes after you, she lays you out. There are a million of them. And I think almost anything that is said to Richard III, Margaret has a line about you, something a bunchback toad. And that seems to me as good an insult as any, though the insults that pour out of Hal in Henry IV, Part 1, about what what Falstaff looks like are really wonderful insults and sometimes go on for great length. But poisonous bunchback toad is my favorite single short insult.